How does everyone do it? I just took my second exam out of three that are all within a week. I absolutely failed it. I didn't even finish half the problems. For the last week and a half, I've spent nearly every waking hour in class doing homework, studying solo, or at a group study. The times I haven't been doing school stuff, I've been doing things like eating, internship interviews, and showering. I literally had to make sacrifices and choose not to turn in some homework to get other homework done and prepare for my exams. I hadn't been grocery shopping in 2 weeks because I did not have the time. Yet I have classmates who are taking all the classes I am and more, and they're working and they're in student organizations and doing a whole lot more than me, yet they're still getting their homework done and doing well on exams. How? I genuinely feel like I'm putting all I have into my schooling and it's not paying off. Well, you've done the right thing. You've come and asked us, other people, other engineers, engineering students, how they do it. And what I'd say is, it sounds like you're doing all the right things. At least you're doing all the things that people tell you to do, right? You're doing practice problems. You're attending class. You're doing your homework. You're studying your solo. You're studying in groups, and then you're doing things like interviewing for an internship and keeping yourself groomed, and then prioritizing things. It sounds like you're trying to prioritize yourself getting ready for exams. It sounds like you're doing all the right things, but I'm wondering how effectively you're doing those things. So my question is to you, if you're at a group study, um, how are you involved in that group? Are you the person that is having other people explain stuff to you? Are you able to explain stuff to other people? Exercise, the whole point of group study is you're working on problems together, right? You're getting stuck, but somebody else figures it out, or you're trying to figure things out together, and then you're explaining things to one another, and you're learning, and you're basically taking that self-discovery time that learning how to do it time, and you're cutting that time down because somebody else in your group has discovered the fundamental switch on how to solve that problem or that kind of problem. Because right when you're studying for exams, you're studying, you're trying to understand the material, not just to get how to get the answer, but what the critical decision points and the knowledge points and the things that you have to discover when solving problems, that you have to take into account whenever you're solving those problems. So for example, if I'm doing a question and it's thermo and it's Bernoulli, but I also have to, oh, for this type of question, I have to check. I'm I'm gonna embarrass myself here, but oh, it's you have to remember the pressure's constant because or the pressure is atmospheric here or something like that. Just because it's open to the air, so the gauge pressure is zero, and yet and that's kind of the pivotal thing here that kind of makes the question possible to solve. It's just stuff like that, right? You're studying with a group of people. Are you the type of person that's kind of having things explained to you, and then whenever you have it explained to you, then you say, "Oh, I solved the problem." Or are you going back and thinking, "Okay, that's how I solve the problem. That's how I do it." And then you're practicing it, and then you're doing it again with your own understanding, and then documenting, "Okay, this is one of those things that I need to remember whenever I'm solving problems." Or are you the kind of person that just kind of has it explained to you? When you're studying solo, what are you doing when you're studying solo? Are you studying solo effectively? Are you studying solo while doing practice problems? Are you just reading your notes? What are good study habits that other people in your class are doing that set them up for success? So what I do is not only ask us, but ask those people in those group sessions that are doing better than you and say, "Hey, when you're studying on your own, what are you doing? Like, hey, I'm doing this. It's not really working for me. What's working for you? Are you keeping like a kind of a memorization sheet that key points that you need to remember that that you can kind of review before exams as you're solving practice problems and studying for exam, here are the things I have to remember so that way, I have the same reference base that I had whenever I was studying with all my material in front of me. Or there's other people that are doing homework and they're getting their homework done. How are they getting their homework done in time? How are they able to get their homework done and also to be ready for the exams? What I'll say is if you're skipping homework that's related to content on an exam, I'd say that that's probably not a good idea. You probably need to at least be doing that homework. But yeah, if you're putting in all the effort and it's not paying off, maybe you're just not being as effective with your time as other people are. So trying to maybe expand your study group to include the people that are doing better than you, if the people that you're studying with now aren't doing better than you. Um, Going to class is good. You definitely need to be going to class. Um, Here's a question for you. Are you sleeping well? Do you have test anxiety? Um, Maybe another question you could ask your peers, and if you have a testing center at school, maybe you can either maybe look into seeing whether or not you'd qualify for testing accommodations if you have test anxiety. But are you using good test taking skills? You said that you didn't even finish half the problems. So are you in a situation where you're getting stuck on problems and then you just get stuck and then you run out of time? What I've found is the most effective way to take an exam is to go through the entire exam from the front to back and solve all the problems that I know how to solve right away first. And then come back to the ones that are going to take me longer so that way I'm not giving up points on questions that I would have been able to answer. But it's just things like that. Maybe somebody else that maybe you could talk to somebody else about how you approach studying for an exam, how you approach taking exams, and somebody that's doing well might that cares about you or that's nice enough to share their knowledge might say, hey, you know what? I don't do that because that's either a waste of time or I it just it's just not an effective use of my time during an exam. You might also find that people that are doing well, maybe they have practice exams that you haven't had access to, and if it's within your university honor code and you're allowed to take practice exams and look at past exams, then maybe you're missing out on something like that. Maybe the type of practice problems that you're doing to prepare for exams are not the type of practice problems you should be doing. Maybe other people that are doing well in your exams said, "Hey, all the exam questions are really like the questions are in the back of the problem set that are in our book. So do a few of those, and if you can solve those, then you're setting yourself up well for the exam." So basically, what I'm saying is you've done step one, you've asked us, and these are the types of things that you need to be now asking your peers because if they're doing better than you, they're doing something that you're not doing. And this happened to me after my first Calc 3 exam. I didn't do very well. And then I asked my peers, it's like, hey, you got a 98 on that exam? They're like, yeah, it was easy. And I was like, oh, I thought it was so hard. How'd you study for it? And they're like, oh, well, I did practice problems from this and this and this. I said, oh my gosh, you did practice problems from this and this and this? I didn't even think of doing that. And then next thing you knew, my study habits improved in that class. And then I had that same professor for my next math class. And then I made an A in their class. So I don't think that you need to write yourself off yet. I think that you'll be okay. So that's what I'd say is you just have some more questions to ask your peers that are doing better than you in exam. I wish you the best of luck, and I think that you'll be fine. Keep on asking around and keep on using that same level of energy and intensity that you're applying towards your career and in general, and maybe apply it a little bit more effectively.
Miscommunicating, I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Now I'm not complaining, now I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in layman's. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.